Hi, this is Dan Isenberg. This is Google Hangout. Welcome everybody. That is presented by Scale Up Milwaukee. Go to our website, scaleupmilwaukee.org, and you'll see dozens of video interviews with exciting entrepreneurs from the Wisconsin, in particular Southeast Wisconsin region around Milwaukee. The purpose of Scale Up Milwaukee is to help generate a growth-obsessed and growth-enabled region. One of the exciting stories, in my own opinion, is the story of EMTEQ and Jerry Jendusa, who's with me here today. Just say hi, Jerry, so people can see you.
Hello.
And we interviewed Jerry about 7 or 8 months ago. A lot has happened since then, and this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what has transpired at EMTEQ in the last 6 months and what can we learn from that. So Jerry, bring us up to date. Tell us, first of all, for those who are joining us for the first time, tell us what EMTEQ is and then bring us up to date in terms of what's happened.
Sounds good. So thank you. Thanks for having me on again. I do appreciate the Google Hangout and chat. My name is Jerry Jendusa. I was the founder, or am the founder of EMTEQ. And EMTEQ was founded in 1996. It's an aerospace design and manufacturing company. We were the first company to use LED lighting as conventional lighting in airplanes, developed a variety of other products to complement that, from power supplies to mechanical structures to avionics provisions. And that business grew from very humble beginnings out of a basement to having 7 locations. 4 of the locations were international. We did 2 purchases, 2 acquisitions of bolt-ons. We grew in the Milwaukee region from 1 employee, myself, to about 330. We grew overall to about 630 employees. Our revenues, end of 2013 fiscal year, were about 100 million. We were exploring strategic alternatives. We had a lot of exciting growth ahead of us, and the organization still does. And we chose to partner with a large aerospace manufacturing company to get the business more into Boeing and Airbus so it can actually expand even further with more capital, with a publicly traded company, and more expanded market potential from sales channels around the world. So I think there will be some very exciting things for future growth for EMTEQ. And then there's some exciting things for me now as I have some new journeys and some passion with helping other business startups, and specifically companies that are past that startup phase and really could accelerate growth. That's why the Scale Up Milwaukee and the Scalerator is so interesting to me.
So Jerry, the actual sale of EMTEQ, you sold 100% of EMTEQ, or the assets of EMTEQ, to your partner?
Yeah, the partner, strategic partner called BE Aerospace, purchased 100% of the organization, and that organization now is part of a multi-billion-dollar leading aerospace manufacturing company that is very well known, BE Aerospace. And remarkably, the chairman of BE Aerospace, his name is Amy of that company, and he had the fortune of taking it public when it was about a $30 million company, prior to Sarbanes-Oxley and some of those requirements.
So an entrepreneur acquired the company of another entrepreneur.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about the process of being acquired. Just the headlights. Was there anything about it that surprised you?
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, a couple things surprised me. The first thing that surprised me was the amount of interest that was in EMTEQ from a very select few partners. EMTEQ perhaps wasn't necessarily for sale. We were looking for ways to further grow our business, as any entrepreneur wants to do. They want to grow things. And we realized that we would grow ourselves to a certain level, but if we wanted to take it to the next level, we would need more market channels, we would need more investment capital, and what would be the best way to do this, and then how to go about doing it. But oftentimes, if you're dealing with a publicly traded company, they need to purchase 100% of that business and to have it form into its own culture. So we worked with an investment banking firm called Mesero Financial out of Chicago, and we explored some options with some fireside chats. we were going through putting together an information memorandum, and before we even created the data room, the partner that wanted this business so badly really didn't want it to go for sale per se. So that relationship happened before we even really started to explore some of the options. So that was very surprising, to get back to your question.
So the surprise was the amount of interest, keen interest that a global player or several global players showed in EMTEQ.
Yeah, and I think if you have the right mix of a good culture, you've got good employees, you did a good job of developing a leadership team that's really there to take it to the next level. You have a good name, a good brand equity. You've got a lot of product and product potential. So for instance, we started with LED lighting and went to exterior LED lighting, but we got involved in cabin management, cabin controls, wireless routers and access point support aircraft, cabin power. So our product line, along with the ability to certify products in the aftermarket, was much more attractive to a strategic partner than what I had envisioned.
Jerry, some of the people just looking at this sale of EMTEQ from the public's point of view and from the public sector's point of view, some people might say, and here I'm just playing devil's advocate, some people might say, oh no, this is terrible. EMTEQ is leaving Wisconsin. This is bad for Wisconsin. Why is this happening? What would you respond to that?
You know, well, the first thing I'd say is things are out of my control. There's nothing contractually. The second thing I would say is human capital is very important to any corporation. And we made it very, very clear that Wisconsin is where I'm born and bred. We didn't necessarily have an aerospace cluster in Wisconsin, but there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of potential to grow. And we've created an infrastructure there of people. We created an infrastructure with local universities, Milwaukee School of Engineering, Marquette, UWM, Madison, that there's a talent pool and a talent flow that it would, to me, it would be very foolish to leave Wisconsin. And in fact, this company is entrepreneurial. They want to grow Wisconsin. They want to create more jobs, and they'll have more capabilities than I would have from a financial wherewithal and from these market channels internationally to actually create more growth opportunities. It'll be a little struggle at first because there's some changes between privately held businesses to publicly traded. But after you get past the first couple of hurdles in that regard, financial controls and IT systems, there's a lot of growth potential.
So your bottom line for you is that this will actually make the operations in Wisconsin stronger potentially and bigger and more scaled.
That's
scalable.
The scalability, the larger you get, the more infrastructure, the more contacts, the more channels you have, the more you can accelerate growth even more. And I think with what you're trying to show with your model, you can take, if a company has customers, they have a certain product, they have a certain service, it's much easier to work with a business owner to accelerate growth there, put in some of the systems, put in some of the processes, how do you execute off of a plan, versus potentially a startup that's very speculative. And so I become very interested once again in the whole scale up Milwaukee concept, and that's why I'm talking with you today.
That's great, Jerry. And I think someone like yourself who's built a company from one person in a basement up to over 600 people and $100 million in revenues is experience that every growth entrepreneur is going to want to learn from in the Milwaukee region. I think I would summarize your comments about the sale of EMTEQ as saying, just similar to the analogy of a father who's marrying off his daughter, let's say, you're not losing a daughter, you're gaining a son-in-law. I mean, really, Wisconsin's gaining, and Milwaukee is gaining a major global, BEA is a huge force in the aerospace industry. And I think this is something that we can all take advantage of to enrich the supply chain of a company such as BE Aerospace in terms of technology and talent, innovation, and other kinds of assets. So,
and it's such a good point. And what's really interesting about it is, if you're an entrepreneur, you help develop other entrepreneurs within your organization, and they actually have there's people at EMTEQ that have better skill sets than I have and will be more adept from a training standpoint, from an education standpoint, to work within that type of environment and experience more success than what I would as a founder and the startup guy who, you know, sometimes you do things a little autocratically when you're starting a business and it's harder to change and adapt. So there's a lot of talented people there, and that's, I feel really good, and I'm hoping that those people all stay there. They've got exciting growth potential to expand. And the analogy that I'll use is EMTEQ. I have a 16-year-old son. EMTEQ was 18 years old, so for me it was almost the analogy is having this business go off to college, and it's going to get more experience, more education to come back even stronger to continue down that growth path. And sometimes when you do that as a parent, it's very difficult for you to let go, but sometimes it's almost best to let go and you realize that you might not be the best thing for the business going forward to the next level.
Well, I think you're the best thing for the Milwaukee region, Jerry, because I think you show that it's possible to build in less than 20 years a $100 million business. That's pretty amazing. And I've said this so many times in the context of Scale Up Milwaukee. A couple dozen EMTEQs in the Milwaukee region changes the entire game, because each one of those inspires the next generation of scale-up entrepreneurs. So, Jerry, I think we'll be talking. You have a lot of talent. Your example is inspiring, and you have a lot of advice that I think you can give scale-up entrepreneurs in the region. And we'll be working together in Scale Up Milwaukee and in the Scalerator to bring that to ambitious entrepreneurs in the region. So, thank you.
One thing that I've learned is a lot of mistakes along the way, and so I can surely share some of those mistakes. So hopefully I can allow others to not make some of the same mistakes that I've made.
Well, even with all the mistakes, 18 years is a pretty short time to grow a $100 million business, which, by the way, was sold at a multiple of $100 million. I don't know if it's public information, but it was sold at a very nice multiple.
And the exciting thing is, the capital that we had in the business was all family and friends. We didn't have to go out to private equity or to angel investments, and we gave other employees an opportunity to invest in. So there's a lot of millionaires that were created from that sale as well, and that's kind of a good feel-good story as well.
That's fantastic. So we promised to keep these hangouts to under 15 minutes, and so we've come to the end of our time. Jerry, I want to thank you. Let me also thank all the partners in Scale Up Milwaukee, the WEDC, the Greater Milwaukee Committee, the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee, Marquette, WEDA, and of course American Express Open, the Mayor's Office, and the list goes on and on. And we invite everyone to get involved in Scale Up Milwaukee, because creating an environment in which there can be dozens of EMTEQs and dozens of Jerry Jendusas that's what Scale Up Milwaukee is all about. Thank you so much, Jerry. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.